Today's show is brought to you by Audible, and right now you can get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/joined-up. There's over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle or MP3 player. Thanks for tuning in to the Joined Up Writing Podcast, a weekly show featuring interviews with fantastic authors sharing their personal stories on how and why they write. There's hints and tips for aspiring writers and great book reviews from top bloggers. Follow us on Twitter at JU Podcast. Right, cue the cheesy theme tune.
Put down your pen and stop your typing. Grab yourself a drink, 'cause it's Joined Up Writing. The Epilogue.
Yes, welcome to the Epilogue, another of the quick bonus episodes we run between our longer shows, featuring a question or topic not included in last week's main author interview. I'm Wayne Kelly, and this week we've got Joanna Penn, aka The Creative Pen, talking about how as writers need to look after our health a bit better. Just before that, I did want to say thanks for all the kind words I received after announcing a release date for my debut novel, Safe Hands. I've got a lot to do before I can publish, but I've already had offers of help and support for beta readers and other areas of the publishing process, so thanks a million for that. I'm going to be offering free short stories and other bonus content for those of you who sign up to my mailing list over at waynekellyWrites.com. I'm also blogging about my writing journey over there, so please feel free to head over and check it out. Right, let's crack on with today's mini chat with Joanna Penn. Joanna is a mine of information and a lovely guest, and if you haven't done so already, you really should subscribe to her own Creative Pen podcast. So here I'm chatting to her about how we can all be healthier writers. Okay, Joanna, thanks a million for staying behind for the Epilogue, our little bonus show where we ask a little extra question that we didn't cover in the main interview. So for this, we kind of touched on it in the main interview. I know you've got a book coming out in January 2018 called The Healthy Writer, which you talked about you've co-written with a doctor. So just tell us a little bit about why you think staying healthy is such an important part of being a writer, and why it's kind of a bit of a challenge for us people that spend so much time sitting in a chair, and some of the things that you do to counteract it.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, the main thing that we all have, I mean, it's the same whether you work in an office at a computer, is that we are in this completely unnatural position. We're spending hours on a computer, and it's a very unhealthy way to live. And writers have a lot of pain issues. And I wouldn't have done this book a few years ago because I was not a healthy writer. And I mean, I'm definitely still, a few pounds overweight and all that. Yeah, working on it. But what's interesting is over the last few years, so I went full-time as a writer in 2011, and almost immediately within the first year of being full-time, I ended up in hospital. They thought I had spinal tumors because of my back pain. I couldn't sleep properly. My breathing was all over the place. I was kind of broken, and my tiredness was at that fatigue level. But since then, I have slowly and steadily sort of changed things. So for me, the back pain, and I talk about this in the book, but my back pain has been and RSI has almost been completely sorted by a combination of stand-up desk. So I stand up. I also have a Swiss ball. So if I'm sitting on a Swiss ball, which I also use for back bends and stretches, and yoga 3 or 4 times a week, and walking. So I walk a lot. I'm doing more dictation now when I'm walking. And these things have made it, and also removing stress from my life. So the difference in my physical pain from when I started writing to now is just crazy. I mean, it's completely different. So when Dr. Ewan Lawson came to me and said, do you want to write a book on the healthy writer? I was like, hell yeah. So then I did a survey on the creativepen.com, and we had nearly 1,200 writers respond to this survey. And it's absolutely heartbreaking to read of how much pain people are in, both as sort of, from eye strain and tiredness, through migraine and back pain and RSI and all the way to depression, loneliness, chronic pain. Some people just really terrible situations who are not necessarily diagnosed with any condition. This is just normal people. And of course, the longer we do this, the worse it gets. So I guess sometimes we all know what we should be doing, but it just got to the point where I was like, okay, I need to put this out there and see if we can help people. And in the process, I'm again improving my own life once more. Like I gave up sugar, which was huge. Diet is a big thing, but it's not necessarily about weight loss. It's about our brains. If you want a long-term writing career, you need to look after your brain. And sugar is linked to dementia and Alzheimer's, as well as lots of other things. So these are all things for us to think about as creatives. I want to live a long time, so I hope everyone else does. So we want to be writing the whole time. So that's why I'm doing the book. And I thought it was just another non-fiction book, but it feels pretty big in my own life, and I hope it will be for others. In the same way that I wrote the Successful Author Mindset last year, and sharing a lot of my own journals and thoughts along the way, and you realize that people are suffering the same thing as you, like self-doubt and fear of failure and all these things. And when you share it, other people go, oh my goodness, I thought I was alone, but I'm not. So that's what the book's going to be.
It's brilliant. Obviously it's a really, really worthwhile thing, and it's really pertinent at the moment, as you say, with the common thing that's being talked about now is, sitting is the new smoking and all this kind of thing, which is, everywhere you go now, someone drops that into conversation. But I do understand, so with your you mentioned dictation software there, particularly, and I've heard you talk about this quite a bit on your podcast. So, again, for people that are not familiar with dictation software and how it works, because I guess some people just think, well, you just get some dictation software and off you go and you can just start writing books with it. It's not quite as straightforward as that, is it?
Well, it can be. I mean, it is. And in fact, if people haven't written a book yet, I think it might be easier to do it if you haven't got your process sorted.
That's
like
interesting.
It's pretty hard to change your process once you've got it sorted. Once I can write a first draft in a month if I type it, and then if you dictate it changes because you have to change your process. So it's definitely a challenge once you have it. So I think if you're starting out, it's probably easier. But essentially, you can get Dragon Dictate software. It's the best one. There are lots of free ones or cheaper ones, but Dragon is awesome. I use the transcription version after trying various forms of it. There are different forms of it. Like you can talk like this in front of the computer and the words will appear on the screen, but that tucked into my editor, my self-editor, and I was like, I can't do this. So now I have an MP3 recorder and I just hold it in my mouth and I talk. I'm like, Morgan walked into the room, full stop. And then I press pause on the thing and I think, what am I going to say next? What happens next? And then I say the next line, full stop. So, and then once I've dictated for say an hour, I will drag that into Dragon on my laptop, and an hour's 1 hour full recording for me will be probably between 5,000 and 8,000 words. So it's a lot faster. But
God,
that's 1 hour of recording, which is probably taking me 2 hours, or 1 hour 45 with the kind of thinking and stopping. Yeah. But it's still, if you can do 8,000 words in 2 hours, that's more than 2,000 words in 2 hours. So that's how you can write a lot faster with dictation. And many of the most prolific authors in the indie world right now are using dictation. And also you can do it while you walk. So, I do a 17-kilometer walk and dictate on that. Much of my chapters in The Healthy Writer were dictated because I had to, put my money where my mouth was. So it can be awesome for your productivity.
And how did you find? So you mentioned that when you first started doing it, you didn't get on with doing it in front of the screen. Did you find it difficult? I'm just thinking about now. I haven't tried it. I should maybe give it a go. But I'm just thinking about it now. As you say, having to think about what the next sentence is, say it, then pause, then do it. Did you find that difficult to start off, or did you get into it fairly quickly?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's difficult. And in fact, I did a kind of interim solution where I just talked, and then I paid for a transcription service called speechpad.com. So a human does it, and you don't need to punctuate. So you can just say, Morgan walked into the room, hello, she said, and they would do all the punctuation. So the punctuation is the thing that really gets you with fiction. Non-fiction is much easier because there's no, hardly any speech marks and stuff. But you get used to it pretty quick, to be honest. And also it's much cheaper if you don't have to pay a transcriptionist.
Can definitely vouch for that.
Yeah, so those are some reasons. But I did an interview with Scott Baker, who's the author of The Author's Guide to Training Your Dragon, and he started dictating because of chronic back pain. And he's a great teacher on it. He's got books and courses and things. So definitely it's worth checking out. The other reason to learn it, like even if you don't have RSI or back pain now, if you don't learn the skills, and let's face it, we're all going to voice. Look at Alexa and your smartphones and, AI voice recognition. We are going to be using our voices in the future as we use, our thumbs right now on the smartphones. So getting used to using your voice to communicate more and write stuff, I think is great. And also you're future proofing. I mean, Terry Pratchett, wonderful man, obviously had dementia, great fantasy writer, if people don't know. He had early onset Alzheimer's. His last 5 years, I think, while he had Alzheimer's, he dictated. Right. Winston Churchill dictated. If you look, Dan Brown dictates. Lots and lots of very famous authors dictate for many reasons, but it's certainly something to future-proof your health with. So I think all writers should at least learn how to do it.
Definitely. So they should do that, and they should also buy The Healthy Writer when it comes out in January.
Absolutely. And I mean, even if there's just one tip, this is the thing with nonfiction, I always feel as a reader, I'm like, if there's one tip that helps me, then it's worth it. And so that will be out in ebook and print everywhere. And I really hope it does help. It's actually helping me in writing it. So awesome.
That's good. It's a circular thing.
Indeed.
All right, that's brilliant. Thanks a million for that, Joanna. Thanks for hanging around for the epilogue.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So there you go. Thanks again to Joanna. Be sure to check out thecreativepenn.com and also her fiction work over at jfpenn.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the show here, and please make sure you leave me a quick iTunes rating and review, as it does ensure I can keep the show going and continue to improve the content. Your feedback is really important, so don't forget you can also leave a comment at joinedupwriting.co.uk, or you can tweet me at JUPodcast. Okay, once again, thanks for listening, happy writing and reading, and I'll see you next time.
Joined up